Bears got the best of me. Said bears on my fantasy. Said bears ain't what I like. We do it all night, alright. Bears that don't discriminate. I take a cover chop to circumnavigate. Steal my heart and let it percolate all night, alright. Bears got the best of me. Said bears on my fantasy. Said bears ain't what I like. We do it all night, alright. Bears.
Hello, everybody. I always get super excited when I welcome you all to watch our new show, Bears of a Certain Age. We can still call it new because this is only number 4. So here we are. Thank you for tuning in. We have got lots of things to talk to you about today. Actually, a little later, we're going to be talking about how we ran into our tribe, why we love the bears. But before that, there have been a little questions. People have lots of questions, and we want to kind of address some of those. What do you think?
Definitely. If you guys, we really appreciate you guys kind of chiming in there. If you go to podcastbears@gmail.com, ask us anything you want. We're not shy.
Yeah.
We'll answer whatever. We've had some great questions and some interesting questions.
Yeah, and we are definitely not shy. Also, I wanted to say, since we're going to be talking about our tribe and finding bears, I wanted to represent. So I have the Pacific Northwest flannel, but also just a reminder that we should be laughing bears. So laugh. And also, this hat that says "Damn Sexy," yes. So that's me and my brother created that. We have t-shirts and these back when I was like 25 years old. Damn sexy, people. Own your
I
sexiness.
love it. And you are, my friend, damn sexy
We are
is
good.
right.
I'm telling you. It helps that we are very, not to toot our own horn, but very handsome men. And we love you all. We don't discriminate. We love all of you.
There you go. We are getting all these little DMs, people sliding in saying, "Who's that sexy Johnny dude?"
I love it when they slide in. I do.
Isn't it exciting? A
It-
nice slide into a DM can
I
make my
know.
whole week.
I love So why don't we start with one of the first questions is, this is interesting to me. First of all, someone wants to know what makes a bear, and then I want to talk about some otter confusion I had recently. But what do you think makes a bear, quote unquote?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of a bear is an attitude. There's generic term for it, right? The generic term is kind of a slightly chubbier, kind of a slightly older, little bit of hair around him and everything. Some
Yeah, got some facial hair.
stuff. Usually a little mustache or beard going on.
Yeah.
That's the physical aspects. But I think a bear is someone that really starts to come into their own. Someone that knows what they're looking for, knows what they like, has that confidence about them that we talked about last week's show.
Yeah.
I think a bear is just sexy personified. What about you?
First of all, that is very true. That statement alone, very true. Bears have, the definitions changed through the ages. This is what you always get. You get these people who are like, am I a bear? And I'm like, listen, it is a moniker, you decide. Are you a bear? But we have like broken it down so much. There's cubs, tends to be younger. They have the bear physique, but they're younger than bears of a certain age. Tend to be. I guarantee you, there's going to be a ton of opinions on this out there of what it is. But then you have like otters. This is fascinating. So I always thought that an otter was a thinner person who had fur on their chest and they appreciated the bears. Someone told me that an otter could have a smooth chest, and it was confusing to me because that is not how I've ever defined it. Can they?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
I always thought otter was a thin, hairy person. So
right,
yeah,
because if you're
I kind of thought there was a bit of hair involved.
A thin hairless person is called a twink. So you know what I mean? I'm like, I thought you already had a category. And maybe not. Listen, like I said earlier, if you have put the moniker of otter on you, more power to you. But it confused me because I'm like, I never have met an otter without. Now, I love me a good otter. I'm not going to lie. It's a beautiful kind of aesthetic, but I've also dated some amazing bears and cubs. I don't know if that means I'm a slut or if it means I just love all people.
Exactly. It's that fine line in between. I'm the same way. I'm always drawn to the otters, probably the age of the cubs and the look of an otter, I guess. So there's
Yeah.
like that combination. I mean, a good wolf. I mean, I didn't even know what wolves were. I just know wolf. But
Okay,
wolf
tell.
is a little more muscle. Wolf is more of a muscular bear. He's kind of like he's definitely furry, definitely, but he's a little more buff, a little
So
more muscles
is
on him.
Colton Ford, who was on our
Colton would be
show,
a wolf.
is he a?
I would consider Colton a wolf. Yeah.
And I'm into wolves. I am. Yeah, yeah, because I had never. I mean, there's so many things I learn every day. Like, you're this. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know there were that many categories, but I'm all in. Like, call yourself what you want. If I find you hot, I'm in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to be part of that physical description to be part of the team, right? I mean, there's a lot. I think we had someone ask the other day. It's like, well, I'm not really of a certain age. Can I watch your show? It's like, please do,
Yeah,
and then give
I'm
me
like,
some afterwards because I'm going to talk to you. I'm going
yeah,
after the younger guys here. So,
we don't, we
Daddy's
don't
on the mic.
discriminate. Yeah, we don't discriminate. And if you like it, then come on in. The den is open, as they say. Yeah,
Exactly.
it doesn't. I think it's funny. I'm fascinated by people who think because we say bears, we're gonna like be like, we're gonna have a bouncer at the door. Unless you, no, I want if you enjoy what we're talking about, then enjoy it. I had some women tell me, I want to be there. I want to watch the show. Okay, you can watch the show. It's not, and I hope you do, and I hope you have a good time. You're even allowed, if you're watching right now, to comment. All of it. You are welcome here. It's just we're telling you life from our perspective, and we are two bears of a certain age. So, but I don't care. You want to be a 20-year-old like lusting after us, like we know you do, or you just want to hear the topic. I mean, I think that's great. I think it is funny that they were trying to be so respectful to ask that question. I'm like, you are welcome here, dude. Bring it, bring it. If we didn't have admirers, I'd never date. So
Well, that's what we say too. We're not just for the community, we're for the community and our admirers because
yeah,
we all admire different things. There's a lot of twinks that admire a good bear, right?
this
So
is
it's like
true.
you don't have to be part of any certain community to really enjoy anyone from another community.
Right. And bears of all ages are attracted to different things, right? Like we all have like do you like the twinks? What's your taste? What's your style?
I'm in the daddy is into twink otter phase. I'm kind of right on the little borderline there
I
of
also
twink
absolutely love
otter.
you are
I'm there. Daddy
I
likes.
love that you like the daddy role. I'm fascinated by that because I have rejected it so hardcore. But I love hearing like I mean somebody else I love that for them. So I'm fascinated by this. Have you had any lovely cubs in your life?
I actually dated a cub about a year and a half ago. We
Yes.
dated for about, but one of the thing with cubs is he was in college and so he went off to school somewhere else. So that was unfortunate. But we
Was that
did date for about 6 months and had a very great relationship and had a great time. I'm the kind of person when you're very much like me. We're very much young at heart. I can talk about any subject. It doesn't have to
no,
be. I'm not just going to talk about hunting and fishing and what
right.
happened playing the old banjo, right? I can talk about the latest Transformer movie and
Yeah.
whatever else is happening. I enjoy going out to the club and dancing till 3 in the morning. I won't be awake for the next 3 days, but I'll go out and do it with you once.
I was like, more power to you. I could not do that. First of all, watching me dance is not fun for anyone, including myself. But yeah, I love that you can keep. You deserve a good college guy, especially that you can keep up. I'm like, you go, you go. If I have a college guy, I need it to be the nerdy kind who likes to read a lot and maybe just relax on the couch. That's the kind of nerdy college guy I need. But I love that. And here's the thing: your taste in other humans changes as you go, and just enjoy. That's all I want to say. Just enjoy. Somebody asked, how do I find bears around me, especially if I'm from a small town? This is legit. That's a hard question. I mean, we're actually going to be talking about how you and I found our communities.
Right.
But
And
what
it's
advice would you give someone?
well, I've kind of found online is probably the best right now. Facebook, if you go into Facebook and look for groups, there's some great groups out there because I'm in a Daddies and Cubs group. I'm also in a regular Bears and Otters group. I mean, there's quite a few very specified groups. You just do a search for them in Facebook and you'll be able to find them. So that's a good, they're not going to be close necessarily all the time, but it gives you that sense of community. It gets your confidence up to talk to other people like that. And it's great to kind of find other like souls, and then you can start going to these events that we talked about last episodes. There's convergences and
Yeah.
Bear Week and
Oh my
all
God.
sorts of stuff. How
Yeah.
about you? Where do you?
I have a list that I want to go to, all of these events. I want to say, I think people worry about being in a small town a lot. But I'm going to tell you something. If you do some digging, you're going to find something. Because the towns are never as small as you think they are. If you have certain issues, you have certain things you enjoy, you're not the only one. You know what I mean? It's like when you're coming out and you're young and you think you're the only gay person that's ever existed because you feel so isolated. Well, you ain't, and you learn that really quick. I think the same thing. So here's a true thing that I learned in Spokane. Spokane isn't huge, but it's not small. Um, so we're a good size, and I had a friend. They really wanted to explore the pup community, pups and handlers and alpha dogs, and there's a lot that goes into accoutrement and all of these things, and they were nervous, and they're like, I don't even know. There's not going to have a group in this town. Well, au contraire. Even in our town, and I wouldn't have guessed it either. I wouldn't have known if I wasn't as plugged in as I am. But there's a pup community here, and they have gatherings, and so there's always something. So don't think communities don't exist. Like if you want to find the bears, there's going to be bears in your town, but you have to kind of ask around. If you meet someone, you can't be. Here's the other thing. When we find our tribes, you can't be ashamed of your tribe. Like, in the beginning, you're like, am I allowed to like bears? Am I allowed to like older, hairy, chubby men? You're allowed to do whatever the hell you want. And there's no wrong, right or wrong. If you're of legal age, welcome to the world. It is what you make it. And so you have to be not afraid to just identify what you like and not be afraid to look for it. You know what I mean? It's amazing what you're going to either stumble across or find in your
Right.
community.
And if you
So,
missed our episode last week, we talked about the apps. I mean, the apps is another great way. I mean, there's a reason why gay apps go by feet instead
yeah,
of by cities, right?
right? Have you ever had so there's another app. I forgot to talk about this one. There's another app called Sniffies. Have you ever heard of Sniffies?
No.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, it is the most accurate little like basically I'm like, I don't know if I like this because basically you can see exactly, might as well get their address. The whole thing is right there. So it is very I find it to be the future of what Grinder is. It is so accurate. But it is all they call it sniffies because it's like sniffing out what you're looking for. All I have to say is if you're in the mood and you're having one of those weeks that you feel really, really, really randy, that's a good app. But you will be exhausted. But there, like you said, there are apps out there, there are websites out there, there are groups out there that aren't even connected to those. We have a great group in town that kind of curates all of the fetish communities. Just find a podcast like ours. We'll point you in the right direction. You know what I mean?
It's surprising places. Go to if there happens to be a Barnes and Noble or a bookstore close by, you'd be surprised. He's walking around the LGBTQ section. Almost every bookstore has one.
Thank you. And the people in there are in your community. I'm just telling you. Like, you're not going to see a lot of straight truckers in there looking at the queer
Right.
bookshelf. So it's.
And you and I are bolder than the typical bears, but I mean, I've done in my youth, I've kind of put myself out there. I mean, you go to Panera Bolton. There's a Panera in every podunk city
Yes,
in America. And they all have bulletin boards. It's like, put up a little thing, having a gay bear meeting at such and such at the IHOP down on Highway 24.
Start
Go
your
for
own
it.
group. You'll find them. Yeah, and it's funny to me how that works. Let's take a couple more questions. Oh, as a part of the bear community, let me get your opinion. do bears trim or do they let it go wild? And I think this is an interesting answer. So we're furry men. You know what I mean?
Right. I think that's a personal preference because I know what I prefer to trim in certain areas. Certain
Yeah.
strategic areas I think need to be trimmed.
Right.
Um, but as far as like a chest hair or something like that, that's what the twinks do. They shave their chest, everything. I let mine go as is. I let my beard. I mean, I keep my beard at a certain size usually. I don't
Right.
let it go.
Yeah.
But it's like I think you really need to do what your personal preference is as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Um, but I kind of like a little wild. It's a
I
personal
do
preference.
too. There's a whole reason I enjoy it. But I will say I dated this guy for years, and I mean years. For the first 2 years, I had no idea that his chest was furry. He would shave it. I didn't know he could grow hair there. And then one day, after 2 years,
Wow.
apparently he was comfortable, and I'm like, "You have chest hair? I never expected that." But you can be whatever you want, people. But I will say, I don't mind trimming because trimming doesn't mean shaving it off. You know what I
Right.
mean? Trim is fine, but I think it's everybody. Just like, I mean, there are bears who are furry from head to toe, and there are bears who are furry in just areas. So,
Right.
I mean, I think you're going to find whatever you want. And if you like hair, go have fun. You know what I mean?
There you go.
And you're going
And
to find plenty of people who trim if you want that.
I'm a petter, I guess. I love to run my fingers through hair. I could sit and watch a movie and just run my fingers through someone's chest or hair or wherever
Right.
it happens to be. I love that. Just stroking a guy's arm hair, and just kind of that's just
Right.
kind of sexy to me. I like that.
Just stroking a guy is all I need.
There you go. This is enough
No, but
said.
I think that's a good question, and I get it. And people who are just beginning to experience this community, that's the type of questions, and you're welcome to ask them. That's what we're here for. Give you a little experience.
Well, there's another question too that I thought was interesting because it's kind of the way I feel. It's like, is it weird to sleep in different beds because my boyfriend is very hairy and I get too hot, which I think is hilarious because I'm the same way. It's
Right.
like I get so jealous of guys I see sleeping with their arms wrapped around each other and they're like, it's like I'm a
Yeah.
hot bear. I run hot, Johnny. It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to be. I want my the bedroom cold. I want to be under the covers, and I
Right.
don't want to have my arms touching.
I'm that guy who, like, I don't think I've ever like slept in separate beds because of it. But I'm that guy. My internal temperature is just a little up there. So, but I will say, I'll do all the cuddly stuff and great. But when it's time for me to sleep, you need to go to your side of the bed, and I'm gonna go to mine, and then we're fine. And that's kind of how I work. But I don't think there's anything wrong if you want to sleep in separate beds. It hasn't, because that doesn't say anything. Your relationship is whatever you guys have. I don't know what that means.
Right. And
Yeah,
then I
straight
think
couples have been doing
it's a
that
little
for.
extra work for a little morning something something. I guess you have to walk those 10 steps before my coffee. But
Right.
other than that, I don't mind. I don't mind taking a little trip to the next bedroom.
No, and if it makes it more comfortable, you go do you. But hopefully do him. But go do you. But I think that's interesting because don't you remember? I mean, I wasn't like around them, but I remember like I Love Lucy, where the beds were never together anyways, and
Right.
I'm like, this was, you can do things however you want.
Well, I've gotten better as I've gotten older, but I was the kind of person. I'm a tosser and turner, right? I
Yeah.
flip around depending on the size of the bed. If I have a king size bed, I'm going to be all over that bed. If I have a smaller double bed, I don't go quite as much. It's the same thing with the guy. If a guy was there, I'd be flopping all around. Now, for some reason, it's kind of like the double bed theory. If I have a guy sitting next to me, it kind of limits my space. I don't kind of bop around as
Right.
much.
Right. Also,
I,
I mean, it's a great thing when I have a boyfriend because then I can always use the line, if you don't wear me out, I'm going to be all over this bed. So it's up to you.
I
It's up to you, my.
like
I love when people write questions. I love when they want to know things. And as you've said before, listen, just ask us whatever you want. Don't hold back. Do it. I love getting these. Also, I love it because if you ask a group of people questions, it means you are educating yourself and you're curious. And that's great. You know what I mean? That's how we don't get like mean to each other in our little queer world. But one of the things we wanted to talk about today was this idea of these bears, of this community you and I have found and embraced. So how did you come to the bears community, and when did you know that's what your community was?
I started out, I kind of was like you in a different way, where you talked about in the past how you were a little chubbier guy and was part of the chubby community. Then as
Yeah,
you lost weight, that's when the bears started finding you.
yeah,
I kind of started finding the bears as a chubby person. We always find the bear community so accepting and everything, and they accepted me for who I was right away,
yeah.
as a chubby person as well. So that's when I first kind of found that community. And when I started seeking it out was once I saw the camaraderie involved, the events, that it was like really people were there just to have a good time. The sex was great. You would have people would be there to find sex too. That's always a
Right,
good thing. But they were there to have a good time first together as a group. And when you paired off and had a little something, something, that was
right.
great. But
Does
they
the
really like being together. I think us bears are very community driven, very social, and that's just what kind of drew me to it. I really liked the events. You'd have the beer bus, you'd have the picnics, you'd have the swim parties, you'd have the whatever, and there was a real renaissance. And I think our friend Tom Goss talked about it back in probably about 20 years ago, when there was a really strong bear community in certain areas. It's kind of gone a little less than that, but his was DC.
yeah,
Mine was in Portland, Oregon, had a decent one for a while, and also in near the Monterey area
yeah,
in Northern Cal where I was at. So that and around that time, they were really popular bear community.
yeah,
Now it's a little harder to find. You can find the clubs and everything, but the communities aren't as big as they were.
yeah.
But the camaraderie's there, especially with the bear weeks and the things like that. It's just a little more spread out now.
Yeah, and I think it's because I mean it's the double-edged sword of social media. They can organize these great events all over, but it means we don't have to try as hard to have a local, thing. But I will say they definitely exist out there.
Oh yeah,
We had talked about my origin story before about losing the weight, not knowing where I fit, and then somehow being. Do you know what it was? It was I wrote an article based on because I wanted to talk about. I like to share experiences to help people. Um, I wanted to talk about what it was like having to rediscover dating after I had been in a very serious relationship because I was no longer in my 20s. I was 36 and I had lost 100 pounds and I didn't know what was out there. So I wrote an article based on the first date I was getting ready to go on. My two best friends were in the house. I was doing some personal grooming with a razor and you better know what you're doing. So basically, I was shaving my balls and I nicked them and I started bleeding and I passed out on the. And so my friends finally came and found me passed out on the bathroom floor. So I wanted to talk about just the ridiculousness of what we do for dating. And then I had run into Bear World magazine and because I was looking who's going to run this and they loved the story and they took it and that was the first time I started realizing that's when I discovered, because they're a great magazine. You're going to find, if you want to know where the bears are, that is where you're going to find it. And so then I discovered that world. And I'm like, there's this whole group. Plus, I found it attractive. So, and that's when I was down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Trust me, it may be very repressed in Oklahoma, but the gays know how to have a good time. So, I think it's the same we are drawn to the community that embraces us, and I think we both found that. And I'm with you, but see, I like to say that I have a little social what's the passport because I jump around from groups. Like I
yeah.
definitely identify in the bear group, but I jump around a lot, and I love like the chub chaser group had amazing, like you were talking about, community events and things like that. And then the Bears had community events, and that's what I'm drawn to. If even if it wasn't the specific body type, that community, that camaraderie, was I love that no matter what group it is. So I just tend to relate more to those two groups. And I want to
Well, and
say, if
just
you
the
wonder,
sensibility they are with their bodies. I mean, I kind of came across it more when I first started exploring gay camping. So I used to love to camp, right?
yeah,
And so if you find that out, there's some excellent gay campgrounds all over the country anymore.
all over.
And you go to those, and their people are just free with their body. A lot
Yeah,
of them are clothing optional. A
yeah,
lot of them are just, you have tents, you have campers, you have cabins, but you have people that are just very much who they are, and they really don't kind of they just embrace each other for their look. There's not
yeah.
nothing based on looks. Everyone just kind of gets along and
Yeah.
has that
Well,
camaraderie.
I
But
think
the misperception, there's no perception.
have we? I hate to say that's in a very evolved way, but I love that you're right. There isn't judgment. No one's looking at, oh well, I wish this was here and this was here. Like I have some friends who have been touring the country in their RV, and they're down in near the Portland area at a clothing optional campsite, and they have this beautiful RV. One of the partners is very much an otter, very thin, and then there's a definite daddy bear. Like he's older than me. I know you didn't know that could exist, but yes, people are older than me. And he's a chubbier bear, and I'm like, they're two of my favorite people on so many levels. You know what I mean? There's go out and find him. You can find him online, like all sorts of things, and it's just fun. And the whole everybody loves everybody. It's just a thing. You know what I mean? Do bears have sex in the woods? Yes, yes they do.
They do, and they've helped me get a lot more comfortable with my body image as well. It's like
Right.
I we've talked about. I bring my other show to Palm Springs. Palm Springs, if you don't know it, has per capita the most clothing optional resorts you've ever seen in your entire life. I think
Yeah.
last count there was 17
Oh,
clothing optional resorts in Palm Springs. And I was very lucky to find some friends that owned one down there, and they invited me and my radio show down there. And that was my first time ever. Like, I went there 3 years. The first year I was there, and they invited me down for a month. The first year of that first month, I was only clothing optional 2 days.
yeah.
Second year, I was about 3 weeks. And then the fourth year, let it all in now. But
I love that
it
so
gets
much.
very accepting, and you find these people that are just very open and free, and it's primarily the bears. I mean, the
Yeah.
twinks.
Do you know what also helps? Getting older. Because
Yeah,
you stop giving a shit about a lot of this other stuff. I have found more acceptance as I got older with other older people who are like, what? Like, all of our bodies change. That's just a thing. And I appreciate that a lot. I think we waste a lot of time when we're younger worrying about that shit. You know what I mean?
no,
Like, go find people who surround you. I mean, go find people who surround you and love you and just don't care. No one go in and be this 20-year-old who has everything in all the right place. That's awesome. And then go celebrate with people who are different than you. That's where I
exactly.
like it. Yeah, yeah,
And I think it's just becoming so much more out there. I mean, we talk about Bear World, and they just had an interview recently with that couple, Chris and
yeah.
Bert. Um, Chris Stan, or Stan Chris, I
Yeah.
guess is who he is on social media. This cute little twink boy that does all these really fun interviews, social media darling, but
He's
he
amazing
is
on
dating and
TikTok.
married to Bert from Survivor, the television Survivor. Big old bear, very comfortable in skin, and just the two of them together, the cutest couple in the world. It's like
No
couple
kidding.
goals all over it, and I love seeing like that. I love seeing people that just accept each other for who they are, and that's one of the things I like about this community the most.
And I love that they did that story because I follow the younger guy on TikTok. And
Right.
I watch, and he's so like celebratory of his boyfriend, and I love it, and also fun to look at. So
Very
it's
fun.
just a beautiful thing. One of the questions that people wanted to know is how do we stay involved in the bear community?
I think, yeah, and I think there's so many great events going out there that you're always going to find one. Unfortunately, there might be once or twice a year in your area. So
Right.
you have to be willing to kind of look for what's out there and making it happen. And then we talked about it earlier. Create your own events. Go to your local bar, to a bar in the next city over, and say, "Hey, I'd love to have a bear night. What do you think about
Yeah.
this? I'll invite all these people that I know. Whatever you can do." I think you can't be shy about finding your tribe, right?
Also, can I just say effort? I think, honestly, staying involved takes some effort. So if you want to stay involved, you have to be willing to put that in. Like nothing is handed to us. Nothing is handed to anyone. So I do think there's this myth that happens for some people that they if you find your tribe it's going to be easy. Well, those people are going to treat you beautifully and it's going to be a great time. But sometimes some of us have to put some effort in because like you were saying, maybe it's not just in your community, it only happens a couple times a year. So I just have to say it's okay if we want to stay involved, if I want to be involved in my community, I have to look for things. I have to show up to things. I have to leave my house. Do I want to leave my house? No, I don't. But I want to be involved in the community. So I think you have to be willing to put some effort in. And you know what, El? What? This is a form of effort. Are you watching this right now? Are you having this question? There's some effort. You know what you can do if you're still kind of lost? Send us a note and be like, do you have any ideas? We will give you some ideas. Like, this is part of your effort. It doesn't have to mean you're writing the next great novel about bears. Just put some effort into your life. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. And I think the culture has changed enough now. I mean, before you're very much, you had your friend group and you kept it for life, right? You met
Yeah.
these people in high school, you met people in college, maybe, and you had these great relationships all the way through. Now, with social media and things being so transient and people getting new jobs more often, you got
Yeah.
to be willing to put yourself out there and find new friend groups, right? You got to
Yeah.
be able to, I mean, I'm very much open. It's hard for older people to find new friends. I think people think they've had enough friends in their life.
Right.
I'm always open to finding new friends. I
Yes.
love being able to find and experiencing different things that I might not have never found just by going out there and doing, as you said, putting myself out there and finding these new
Yep.
groups and seeing what happens. I think that's real important.
Exactly. And one of the fun things about online and dating apps and websites and everything is you can make friends all over. And I have friends everywhere that I do talk to frequently. And I know, well, if I'm ever in that area, I know we can go out. And that's okay. You should put that effort in there too. Make your friends. And I think the hardest thing I had to get over about talking about people who think that as you get older, I don't know if I ever thought of it that I had a bunch of friends and I didn't. I just get a little more set in my ways, I admit. And so I also like put the walls up like I'm tired. You know what I mean? And so maybe I didn't let people in as much as I could, but I have relearned to be okay with making those new connections. You know what I mean? It's why I was telling a friend, I took 3 years off of dating and then I dated a guy recently. It didn't work out. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep dating. The 3 years was fine, but I kind of want that connection. And so, yeah, it's all about what you want, but make friends online. That's okay. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's okay to do. And you could meet some good times.
There you go. And I love that you say how we have to adapt and everything and kind of put ourselves out there because everyone has needs and be open to different things. If someone is part of a pup community you've never been to before,
Yeah.
try it. See if you
Yes.
like it. You
Yes.
never know. There's no reason that you have to say we talk about finding our tribe, but you don't have to be a
Yeah.
member of one tribe. We
No.
talked about it. You can be in a couple different tribes.
I love.
And
Yes, exactly.
great to be able to experiment like that.
Yeah. And that's why I'm always so excited for my friends, especially when they realize I'm a person they can tell things that maybe they don't feel. So I've had three friends who've come out to me as I'm curious about the pup community. I'm so excited for them. Like, just because I love that they are so open and they're going to go. So I'm out. That's why they call me the cheerleader. Um, I love, I don't have to be in the same, I don't have to like be in that world or to want you to be so excited that you're trying something new that is interesting to you. What I do want to say, I have two things I want to say. One thing is, do you know when you're feeling like insecure and you're not sure you want to go try that new thing? Maybe you want to go try the bear event, but you're kind of feeling. I need listen. I can tell you the biggest thing to pump me up, but I think pump anyone up is music, right? If you have a playlist that's for that moment, that you need to feel like, and I want to say because we were talking about Tom Goss not that long ago, and he did a lovely little go listen to our show thing for us. And I had just you had talked to him a few weeks before we did about his new album. And then we had talked to him on our show, and one of our interns clipped out this thing where I was asking him if I'm like, so this is your, what was it, your 19th studio album or whatever? And all Tom says is, what the fuck? I could have said it was my 400. You would have just read it. Like, this is what happens when you interview friends. But his albums are one of the first things I'll play, because now given he has some really fun, deeper songs that I enjoy, but he has listened to, like, our own freaking theme song, Bears, is written and performed by Tom Goss. So I enjoy vinyl. I have record player, and I'll put Tom's album on or his songs on Spotify. And if I do that while I'm getting ready and putting on my little, my flannel without a shirt or whatever, it changes your mood. And I know there's scientific things out there to say, but I'm not a scientist, nor am I smart. So one of the things you can do is go make a playlist now. Like when you're just tired at the end, make a playlist of what's going to pump you up. And then the next time you're like, oh, I'm going to try that pump event, turn the fucking thing on before you talk yourself out of it. Turn it on and just have a commitment that while I get ready, I'm going to listen to this, and I'm not allowed to back out until the very end to see how I feel. And then do that.
It's great, especially when you're going something on your own, right? A lot of times but we talked about small towns earlier. You might not know anyone yet. You're going to your first event. You're trying to get yourself the courage to do that. That's a fantastic way to do it. I love that idea, because you really do need to have that self-talk and talk to yourself and let you know you can do it. You're going to have fun. And how much better do you feel after you've been to one of those things? You've been dreading it and you're scared the entire day. When you get there and you find that one person that you're able to connect with, even if it's only one, or you're just able to sit back against the wall and watch everybody else and know that it's possible that this community exists, right?
Exactly.
How much better do you feel afterwards?
It's our version of those TED Talk people who say if you're going into an interview, you need to stand in the Superman stance for 2 minutes because it builds you up. Music is much more fun. And if you're not listening to Tom Gross, which you should, go listen to the new album by Colton Ford, Permissions. Go find some fun bear music that puts you right in that. I want that for everybody, because it can really make you do things that maybe you didn't feel confident enough. So I wanted to definitely speak to that. But we have a fun question. That this is a great way for us to wind it up. What part of the bear world turns you on the most?
Oh, like I said, I'm in my everything's a Taylor Swift era now. I'm in my daddy era now, so I'm looking for those cubs and otters that I think just have. I like a little bit of shyness.
Yeah.
That I like someone that's a little bit shyer than I am, because I tend to be more the aggressive bear.
Right.
But someone that's kind of open to it, and I like someone that likes touch. I'm very tactile. I like the touch. I like to put my arm on your shoulder. I like to kind of, like I said, run my fingers through your fur once we're dating. But even beforehand, just meeting you, I love to touch. So I think the most sexy thing about the bear world for me right now is the Cubs and Otters community, and just having someone a little shyer that maybe Daddy Bear can teach a little bit about the community. What about you?
That's funny, because I like someone who's a little bolder, because I'm so bold. It is like my therapist had it right when she said almost right when she said the dom sub thing. I don't really need that, but I do like a guy who's maybe a little more in it, so I don't have to control this. You know what I mean? I control everything else in my life. Let's have a little fun. But physically, can I tell you my favorite thing in the world is a good happy trail. Oh my God. There's nothing better. That kills me. First of all, it's a treasure map. It's pointing me in the right direction, but it's just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I don't care if that's on a 6-pack. I don't care if that's on a kegger. I don't care. I just love that aspect. You know what I mean? That's what turns me on. So be bold and let me see the happy trail. That's what it turns.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do with a bold cub. I think that would be exciting for me. I would. I don't know how I would take that. That would be kind of fun to experiment with sometime.
It is.
But
Life is just fun. Like, because also none of us are one. What none of us are one thing. None of us are one mood. You know what I mean? There are times when and listen, whoever's dating me needs to be down for this, because sometimes I feel like being the one doing all the moves, and I'm gonna rock your world. And sometimes I need my world rocked. Sometimes daddy needs a daddy. That's all I'm saying. So,
I like it. Let's finish it
what
up with a tough question. We'll get ready to wrap it up. But I got
yeah.
I got a tough question from one of our listeners
Okay.
that it's going to be interesting to see. So we're talking about finding these relationships in the bear community and finding your tribe and finding your people. What about if you come across someone, you kind of start crushing on someone and find out they're in an open relationship, or they would like to have an open relationship? What's your thoughts on that?
Be honest with yourself, because I don't see anything wrong with that. Some people can make it work. I know me enough to know that I will get jealous. So just so everybody knows, last year I dated a couple, and they were the sweetest people in the world. But there came a point after about 6 months that I realized I'm not going to be good at this, because I'm an attention whore, and I like the attention. But here's the thing: I have no problem with thruples or polyamory. But be honest. It wouldn't have been fair had I kept going and not been honest with myself, because it's going to cause an issue if I keep this going, right? So just
Right.
look at yourself and go, okay, do I see myself doing this? Some people can, and they're wired, and it's great. And some people can't. But don't. It's like what I think about gay men having babies. I love it. But be honest with yourself. I know enough to know that I am a more selfish human, and I want to go out and do what I want to do, and I want to do this project, and I want to travel here. So I know for me, it's not a good decision. So I think we don't spend enough time being honest with who we are, and do it.
I
Be
think that's
honest
a
with
great
yourself.
answer.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm the same. I have both minds literally about it. I think personally, I'm like you are. I'm a very jealous guy. So if I'm in a relationship with someone, I cannot have that open relationship because I'm going to be jealous. Now, if I meet somebody who says they're in an open relationship, is upfront and honest about it first, and their partner doesn't mind, I don't mind getting with that person. I've done that
Yeah.
before as long as they know about it. And I don't want anyone sneaking around. That's not my thing. But if
Exactly.
someone says, I mean, at first I was a little turned off by that. Someone says I'm partnered. When you look at the
Oh
dating
yeah.
apps, they say they're partnered. I would usually scroll by that. Now, I don't know. I'm a little more open to it as long as I
Yeah.
can tell they're upfront and honest about it.
Yeah.
Then I'm okay with it. But for me, I'm the same. I'm a jealous guy. I can't handle that
Yeah.
around.
And that's exactly how I feel too. Like, I have no problem with, as long as there's honesty, because I'm not a homewrecker. But I also say it's their responsibility to the partner. But yeah, to be in it, I would suck at being in the relationship and feeling equal. And listen, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm a lot. I just am. There's a lot that goes into my personality, and so if you have to you're not going to want to split your attention, because this requires a lot of attention. So, but I love
And
that
also, I
question.
think it's
That's a
a
great question.
one-time thing too. If I know it's a one-time thing, that's a little different too. Like if me and my
Oh, yeah.
partner, I've done that before in the past. My partner decide we're going to open it up for one night
Right.
together.
Yeah.
It may or may not work out that time. I've done it a couple times and it hasn't worked out one of the
Yeah.
times. But it's like I've done that, but it's not like where I can create a relationship out of it. There's no way.
Yeah, and that's another honesty thing. It's never shades of black and white. There's lots of colors in there that you kind of have to deal. But I love that. That's a question. That's a beautiful question, and we should all be open enough to be able to answer that question. Listen, I have way too much fun on our show. So,
I
this is
love
like a little
talking.
playground.
I look forward to this so much, guys. But we do love to hear from you. So tell us tell us how you got into the bear community. Tell us where you go for bear events. What's your favorite bear event to go to? What's something that Johnny and I may need to go to and bring the show to sometime? That would be kind of fun,
Exactly.
right?
Invite
Remote.
us. Yeah, invite it. We'd love that. And like we say every show, absolutely love having people talk to us and say things. So interact. We love that from you. Podcastbears@gmail.com. Send us an email. Or go to Instagram or TikTok. People like TikTok. Or, just anywhere you can find us. Or you were saying that people can leave us like actual voicemail type things on Spotify.
You can leave us voice messages if you go to the Spotify website and look for Bears of a Certain Age on Spotify. There's actually a place there where you can leave us a voicemail there, which we'll get. So
I'm excited.
Kind of cool,
we have so many fun shows coming up. We have, I believe, we're going to have an interview in the next couple weeks. So lots of things. We interview. We also hang out and talk about subjects. And you can always give suggestions on what you'd like to see a show on. We're more than happy to do that. So I love it.
There you go. Well, I think we should end the show tonight. Since we talked about our buddy Tom Goss, and he has this new album out. It's been out for a couple weeks now. But it's such a great album. A lot of good songs on it. Enemy of Good is one of my favorites. Been on repeat quite a bit here. So let's go ahead and play it.
As Tom would say, it's a good bop. It's a banger.
Yes, it's
what
great.
he said. Yeah.
I think next week we're actually going to have our very second guest on. Billy Clift should be on the episode next week. So be sure to look for that. If you're speaking of handsome bears, Billy Clift should be on the show. He's a fantastic director. And my favorite thing about Billy, because I'm a bear of a certain age and I grew up on old television shows, did you know that Billy was Samantha's hairdresser from Bewitched?
I did not know that, and I love it because I love that show. Oh my god!
Oh, he was. Why am I blanking on her name right now? But he was Elizabeth Montgomery. He was very good friends with Elizabeth Montgomery. Was her hairstylist forever, and I loved getting stories about Elizabeth from him. So we'll have to have him tune in and do
part
all
of our
that.
question. And he's just a nice, very nice man. Just very.
Much. All right, guys. Well, Jonny, I appreciate talking to you. Anything exciting coming up on Queer Centric, or where can they find your website over there as well?
I'm hosting some events, so if you're in the Spokane area, you're going to find me around town. We're doing a lot of that. We have a magazine that's coming in. We have one of our, we're going to talk about gays in media. We have Ian Kelly, who is a big name up here, going to be on the show. So just having fun, and that's what we always should have. And look for Jonathan Slavin. Look him up. He's an amazing actor. Jonathan Slavin will be on the show in the future as well.
Fantastic. Well, be sure to look at thequeercentric.com. Check out what's going on over the Left of Straight show at leftofstraightradio.com, because I have no idea who's coming up next, but someone will be on the show eventually. Well, we appreciate you guys listening. Bears of a Certain Age right here on YouTube, Spotify, all your favorite podcast distributors. We're going to play out a little Tom Goss. Jonny, I love you. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.
When you think about the life that you're building, don't get caught up in the thought you're not worth it. So you haven't got a paper from an Ivy League. So you haven't got a suit coat that's a color green. Just remember, everything is for a reason. Just remember, every flower has a season. The beautiful, the powerful aren't always what they seem. The wonderful is underfoot, it's not a mystery. And you can't see just what I can't see. No, darling, 'cause you're not grounded in reality. Perfect's the enemy of good, yeah. Perfect's the enemy of good, yeah. You're caught on what you think you could, yeah. It's what you can, not what you should, yeah. First impressions, they seem like they're important. Imperfections, you're trying to gloss them over. But all your cracks, they keep you intact. They make you something worth holding, and you can't see just what I can see. No, darling, 'cause you are drowning in a fantasy. Perfect's the enemy of good, yeah. Perfect's the enemy of good, yeah. You're caught in what you think you could, yeah. It's what you can, not what you should, yeah. So don't go breaking your own heart. There's no regretting all the things that fell apart, 'cause in the end you're understood. Perfect's the enemy of good. Why don't you let it go? You were never in control. You have always been perfectly whole. Perfect's the enemy of good. Perfect's the enemy of good. You're caught at what you think you could. It's what you can, not what you should. Perfect's the enemy of good, yeah. Perfect's the enemy of good, yeah. You're caught at what you think you could, yeah. It's what you can, not what you should, yeah. So don't go breaking your own heart. There's no regretting all the things that fell apart, 'cause in the end you're understood. Perfect's the enemy of good. Perfect's the enemy of good, yeah. 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 Perfect's the enemy of you.
Hey guys, it's Scott from Bears of a Certain Age. Surplus is here, the new gay dating app exclusively for us mature men. Jonny and I are excited to have them as our premier community brand partner right here on Bears of a Certain Age. On the Surplus app, where older is always bolder, available now on both Apple and Android phones. We hope you'll join us where you can get the app so you can meet the man.